Let's talk about gravity for a second. The sun's gravity is so strong, it's zipping through the solar system, and it's dragging all of these planets with it. Kind of like how you see here in this illustration. Isn't this amazing? But here's the thing. It's strong enough to pull this planet here all the way across the solar system with it, but it isn't strong enough to pull this planet right into it, or this planet, or this planet. In fact, this planet catches up to it, circles around it at 66,000 miles an hour, and the sun's gravity isn't strong enough to snatch the moon away from it. Gravity is so selective. It's strong enough to keep us on the ground, but not a butterfly. It's even strong enough to keep cargo ships upside down, but not a dandelion. Wow, that's crazy.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
I don't know.
Nobody in the entire world knows why that falls.
So what is pushing this?
Here. Why does that fall?
Newton didn't know.
We can describe it pretty accurately, but no one knows why.
We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it.
I don't need a computer to get a kid interested in that. To spend a week playing with gravity and trying to understand it and come up with reasons why.
So what is pushing this?
I don't know.
Nobody knows why.
So Newton simply threw his hands up and said, I don't know. So I'm going to invent something called gravitational pull.
So I'm going to invent something. Called gravitational pull.
I'm beginning to understand that many people have a hard time discerning explanation from proof. Because someone gives you an explanation for an unprovable phenomenon does not make that explanation proof. We are told that lunar eclipses occur when the sun, the earth, and the moon are in a direct line. Supposedly, the sun shines light onto earth, the earth then casts a shadow onto the moon, okay? That is an explanation for a phenomenon that we see in the sky. It is not proof. Proof would be to see this happening from a different vantage point. We would need to go up on a rocket into, quote, outer space to get high enough to see the sun, the earth, and the moon and be able to say, okay, I am observing this phenomenon happen. But we can't. So this can't be used as proof of a globe earth. In fact, it can't be used as proof of anything. It only proves to me that you accept explanations without critically thinking. My son was suspended from school one day, and he came home and he gave me a good explanation as to why this happened. At first, I accepted that explanation until more evidence arose, and then I realized that that explanation was not proof, nor was it truth. You see where I'm going with this? We also have an eclipse that is called a selenelian. It is referred to as an impossible occurrence because it is literally impossible on a globe. It is impossible because both the sun and moon are above the horizon when this eclipse occurs, making it impossible for Earth's supposed shadow to be causing this phenomenon. It has been explained, not proven, explained away as the effects of atmospheric refraction. But let me remind you, refraction is of light waves, not shadows. Not only that, during this eclipse, the shadow is on the top half of the moon. I don't know how you want to explain that unless you want to say it's a mirage. I know you guys are good for that.
It's a mirage.
But the fact is, you will accept any explanation given to you as long as it's coming from someone that's higher in this hierarchy system. That's the way your brain was programmed to work. If I tell you something, you'll go back and forth with me about it all day. But if a guy with a white lab coat on comes along and tells you something, he doesn't even have to have a GED or a high school diploma. You will accept it as proof, and you will go around telling everybody that you know the truth. And it's all because you were programmed to accept whatever comes from somebody who fits the description. You see, if there's more than one plausible explanation for a phenomenon, then neither of them can be used to explain it. At some point, you're going to have to choose. And in doing so, you're going to have faith, making the globe that you believe in your religion. The same way flat earth is my religion. But I'll be the first to say there's more evidence to support my religion than yours. My religion is based on observable facts, while yours is based on theories. This man here has evidence that this man here committed a crime. This man here has evidence that this man here did not commit a crime. Whose evidence is proof? Evidence has to be interpreted before it can be considered proof. The judge is going to interpret the evidence presented and decide whose evidence is proof and whose evidence is not. It doesn't matter what definition you looked up on the web and how evidence and proof are synonyms for each other. We understand proof to be indisputable facts. And if your proof can be disputed, it is not a fact. It is simply evidence. Evidence that requires interpretation. For instance, you see a boat disappear at the horizon, you see that as evidence of curvature. When I see a boat disappear at the horizon, I see that as evidence of the boat reaching its vanishing point in relation to the observer's perspective. In this case, you have to be your own judge. You have to look at all the pieces of evidence and decide whose evidence is proof and whose is not. I've seen a lot more evidence than most of you guys, and that is why I maintain my position that Earth is not a planet and space is not a real place. Indoctrination. The process of repeating an idea or belief to someone until they accept it without criticism or without question. How many people listening to the sound of my voice right now can honestly say that they haven't been indoctrinated to some degree? I mean, how would you know? A child is a blank slate, can be taught anything. You can train a child up to be an assassin or the greatest ballet dancer of all time. Just depends on the programming. Every 3 or 4-year-old little boy wants to be an astronaut until he gets older and realizes it'd be a lot easier to get drafted into the NBA and win a damn championship title than it is to become an astronaut. In fact, it's the most unrealistic job you could ever hope to acquire. Think about it. When someone says, I want to grow up to be an astronaut, do you take them serious? Think about that. When a little kid says, I want to be a fireman or a firefighter, you can see that happening. But an astronaut, you don't even consider it. And for good reason. There's like 48 astronauts. Your kid has a much better shot of being drafted onto the Lakers and scoring 65 points a game. Because basketball is real. There's a need for basketball players. We see normal people become basketball players and superstars every day. But I've yet to ever meet one astronaut. And you know, for us to be in outer space and be just a speck of dust in an infinite galaxy of galactic Klingon warships and Romulan empires, don't you think we should have some more astronauts? I mean, there should be people going back and forth to space every damn day, you know, trying to figure it out. But nope, they send a rocket up every few years with a pod strapped to it or a car strapped to it and tell you it's in outer space and you're good with that. But let someone come along and say, hey, I don't think we're in outer space, bro. I think we're somewhere else. They're automatically the enemy, and you don't even know why. You've been programmed to reject and ridicule any set of ideals that don't coincide with your programming. It's just indoctrination. I see a lot of you all are astronauts at heart. Y'all know everything about outer space and about solar eclipses and lunar eclipses and stuff. But it's a reason why you're going to work at the steel mill every day and you're going to work at the refinery every day and you're not going to work up in outer space because there's no job for you there. Like I tell you guys all the time, space is not a real place. If the earth was flat, you would be able to see Mount Everest. You guys have no idea how many times I've gotten this comment. Look at how many likes it has. 394 people thought that was a good comment to make. These people are at Lake Titicaca in Peru. They're using this high-powered telescope to view a mountain that's only 68 miles away, and they can barely see it. And they chose this location because it has the lowest levels of humidity and atmospheric distortion. What would give you the idea that you can see Mount Everest from anywhere in the world? They can barely see this mountain 68 miles away, What it is you guys look at the moon through a telescope and you can see it in pretty good detail. And your understanding is that the moon is 238,000 miles away. Newsflash, the moon is not 238,000 miles away. These things you see in the sky when looking through a telescope are much closer than you were told. That is the only reason you can see them. A telescope is not some magical device that will allow you to see things that are 20 light years away. That is all fairy tale. Pull out a camera from Best Buy, point it at the moon, zoom in, and you will see it with the same detail as an expensive telescope. You see, things get smaller as they get further away from you until they reach the vanishing point and disappear. After it disappears, you can't see it with the human eye. So you bring out some binoculars. Now you can see it again. Then it reaches the vanishing point of the binoculars. Then you pull out a telescope, and now you can see it again. And then it reaches the vanishing point of the telescope. Then you will not be able to see it again. I don't care what kind of telescope you use, what kind of high-powered lens it has. At some point, it is going to begin to look like this. People believe that because you can't see it, it's over the curve. The simple fact that you can see Kauai from Oahu proves that there is no curve, okay? The tallest mountains here are 4,000 feet high. This is 86 miles away. The viewer is standing at approximately 195 feet above sea level. Click the video link in the caption to see how I came up with that number. But based on that number, there should be over 3,000 feet of curvature blocking your view of the island in the distance. But you can see the tallest peaks and the smallest peaks alike. This is clear evidence that there is no curve, at least at a distance of 86 miles, which there should indeed be if the globe is indeed 24,901 miles in circumference, okay? And I'm showing you that that isn't the case. I don't know why you can't see Polaris from Australia. I don't know why you can't see the Southern Cross from North America. I don't know how lunar eclipses occur. Obviously, I did not create this place. I'm just showing you that it is not what you've been told it is, okay? If it's not 24,901 miles in circumference, everything else about it falls apart. There has to be some reasoning beyond your understanding behind the phenomenon that would suggest that you live on a globe. The globe has been debunked. One thing I need for you guys to understand about your masters, you know, the people that taught you everything you think you know about everything you think you know, if this was real, they wouldn't even show it to you. You don't get to see what goes on at the White House. You don't get to see what goes on at Area 51. You don't get to see what goes on at the Pentagon. You don't even get to see what goes on beneath the Sistine Chapel. Why do you get to see this? Because they want you to believe in this. That's why. If you're watching this video right now, I want you to take a moment and be real with yourself. And if you'll be real with yourself and totally transparent, you'll agree with me on a couple of things. One of them being, you've never, ever, ever seen where you live. You've never been up high enough to look down and verify that you live on a spinning ball in outer space. You've never seen curvature. You've never seen an actual image of a real satellite orbiting our, quote, planet to verify that they actually exist. You've never seen a planet. Most people go their entire lives never looking through a telescope to verify that what they're being shown by space agencies and network television is indeed what's up there. You have no idea how many astronauts there are. And this isn't to bash anybody. It's just that the average person doesn't really care about this kind of stuff. But let me inform you, there are 48 astronauts. Out of 7 billion people, there are 48 astronauts. And here we are, hurtling through space for 13 billion years. That should give you an idea as to how vast space is, okay? 13 billion years we've been traveling through it. Trillions of stars and planets and galaxies. And we got 48 astronauts to cover it all. We should have 7 billion astronauts and 48 non-astronauts. But we don't. We should have trade schools all over the world training people to be astronauts. The same way we have trade schools training people to be auto mechanics. I'll be the first to tell you, something fishy is going on. I'm sure we can all agree on that. But I'm going to show you a video clip now. And at the end of this video clip, I want you to ask yourself, If you really live on a round ball spinning through outer space, what reason would they have to fake any of it? And please, let's be respectful in the comments and try to figure this out together. No need to call each other names or disrespect someone because they have a different belief system than you. Let's just find out together who's lying to us and why.
I received an email the other day from a flat earth investigator asking a bunch of typical questions about the flat earth. In his email, the investigator included a link to one of the many YouTube promoted flat earth debunking videos out there. Apparently, the investigator's brother used it as proof of the curvature. The lies make me literally sick, but I need you to watch the short clip from the video. Here we go.
A few years back, the Discovery Channel had a program where they used lasers and telescopes to show that the surface of a large lake was curved due to the curvature of the Earth.
Let me know when you can see us on spots of the horizon. All right, Brian, how many feet are we above the lake?
24 feet.
The Flat Earth proponents responded to this program with a series of videos on YouTube.
I'm going to go with CGI on that whole helicopter thing because people would say, oh, look, well, what do you mean it's CGI? You saw the helicopter? Yeah, I also seen giant robots fighting in downtown Chicago. That doesn't make it real.
All of which supposedly show errors made by the people behind the Discovery Channel program. What drives this sort of stubborn refusal to deal with reality? Part of the problem is that even the simplest demonstrations, like Wallace's or the Discovery Channels, require careful preparation and specialized equipment. Not everybody has access to a helicopter and a telescope to do these sorts of tests. That's often a complaint that the Flat Earth people make. They need to personally experience the evidence, rather than trusting the measurements of other people.
Yeah, like we need a helicopter to measure the supposed curvature. But I do think it's awesome that D. Marble got it absolutely right. But we'll get back to that. It's also funny that that's the same D. Marble who proved with a laser that there was absolutely no curvature at a distance of 10 miles, much further than the Discovery Channel's bogus helicopter claim. But what makes the PBS video, and to be clear, it wasn't the Discovery Channel, but PBS's series called Genius, but what makes the PBS video so rotten is that this helicopter event was entirely fabricated and it's provable. I made a video on it a while back. Remember, PBS claimed that the helicopter descended behind the curvature and then came up from behind the curvature of the Earth back into view of the telescope. But as you will see, when the helicopter descends, there's a group of birds with a peculiar flight pattern. And then when the helicopter subsequently ascends, the same birds appear and in the same exact flight pattern. Not only that, the waves match as well. Only the image of the helicopter changes, meaning that the helicopter video was added.
As it lands, I got him. I got him. As it lands,
without question, PBS lied and faked the curvature. And this isn't some simple mistake. This was intentional, as it took serious effort to add a fake image of a helicopter supposedly hiding behind the curvature of the Earth. Why would PBS lie about the curvature? So, to the individual who emailed me that link, send your brother the proof that PBS lied to him and is still used by globe propagandists as proof of the curvature. But here's another big lie about the curvature, this time by National Geographic. Here's a clip from an old video I made on the subject.
But sure enough, as the boat reaches the horizon, the stripes begin to disappear one by one.
It's pretty amazing. You can actually see it pretty clearly with this camera here. And you see that the red stripe that was at the bottom has completely disappeared, and it's now getting closer to sort of the middle green stripe, that is.
So we've lost about 1.5 stripes.
Right. So this can only happen why?
Because of the curvature of the Earth.
Why is this claim 100% false? Because if you'll notice, the horizon line is behind the boat. Therefore, no curvature can be obstructing the boat. Now, if you begin to look at everything critically like this, people are going to start calling you crazy like they call me crazy. But you know what? I like crazy. I prefer crazy over sheep. I'll point out that there's only 48 active astronauts worldwide out of almost 8 billion people. And this gentleman here says we can only send a handful of astronauts to space at a time. Who is we? That's my first question. My next question is, if we're just a speck of dust in this infinite amount of space that is ever expanding, why is there no industry for it? Why is there only a handful of astronauts going to space? I'd imagine it's because a handful of people can keep a secret much better than millions of people could. You know, everything that has anything to do with space has been debunked and is currently being debunked every single day. No one's ever stepped foot on the moon. And if you believe that they did, I don't know whether to feel sorry for you or to feel sorry for myself because I didn't have such a great childhood to where I'm still believing in fairy tales. Satellites, they are attached to helium-filled balloons and they are within our firmament. This is a fact. Find me a picture of a satellite orbiting our, quote, planet. There are allegedly 6,500 of them up there. You mean to tell me one satellite can't show you the others? Come on, make it make sense. Then people are going to get in the comments and say, space is dark. You know, they can't take pictures of... Dude, look at the ISS footage. It's pretty bright up there if you ask me. None of it makes sense. But you're not looking at it critically because you've been indoctrinated to accept a set of beliefs. That's what indoctrination is. And after you accept these set of beliefs, it becomes your religion. No different than Hinduism, Catholicism, atheism. And just like with any religion, you get upset with others when they present information that doesn't coincide with your belief system. My guy, you're working on blind faith. I'll bet it all right now you've never been to space. You've never been up high enough to look down and see what you've been living on. We were all born into a wildlife preserve for humans. You see, your brain can only go as far as the information it carries, and nobody informed you on what this place really is. Some of us have eyes to see it and some of us don't. When all you have to do is follow the clues, follow the money. This hierarchy society that we live in is based on monetary gain. If space was a real place, there would be an industry for it. There would be people capitalizing on space. They will be selling tickets to space for $25,000 a pop. They'll take you up far enough to where you can experience weightlessness and you can look down and see that you live on a globe. The same way they show you the Grand Canyon via helicopter. Space would be a tourist attraction, but it's not because it can't be. Space ain't a real place, my guy. Somebody tagged me in this video and it's supposed to explain why we can't see the curvature of Earth. And the premise of the video is that Earth is so gigantic in relation to us, we are so microscopic on Earth that we couldn't possibly see any curvature. Now, the only problem with this argument is that it negates another argument, which is that we can see boats disappear going over the curvature of Earth standing on the beach. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that Earth is so large you can't see the curvature and then in the same breath say that there's enough curvature over 3 miles to make an entire ship disappear. It doesn't make sense. We have a person standing here that's witnessing a ship vanish right before their eyes. Now, what could make this ship vanish if there is no curvature in between the person and the ship? Convergence, maybe? You guys need to wrap your head around this concept or you'll forever think you're in outer space spinning on a rock where monkeys turned into talking people. The only reason you can see the sun, the stars, and the moon is because they are not millions of miles away from you. You've been finessed. Why? I have no idea. I don't have all the answers. I'm just pointing out the obvious. You can either take it or leave it. It's up to you. But this is your reality. Your perception of reality will not change the facts. And to see this, you need only to be a critical thinker. I think that's the issue here. Most globe enthusiasts don't think critically, and then you call us people who do think critically conspiracy theorists, when you guys are the ones with all the damn theories. The theory of relativity, the theory of evolution, the Big Bang Theory, the theory of gravity. Everything about this globe that you believe in is dependent upon theories. And all they have to do is put the word scientific before theory, and you're sold on it. That's wild. Y'all enjoy being lied to. I can't even understand it.